morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, and today we've got a new GX Pokemon to talk about, and it's one of our favourites. Flygon GX, one of the very first Pokemon booster packs I ever opened. Had a Flygon EX back when I didn't even know what EXs were and I didn't even realise it was a particularly special card. Everybody loves Flygon. Flygon always gets one of the chase cards. And now we have our Flygon GX and it's looking pretty gosh darn good. Shout out to the lovely Antoine Boulet over on Twitter. And you know Antoine's a lovely dude at this stage. So what does it actually do? Well, if we start off having a look at the basics here, it's got 240 HP, which isn't quite as high as we can go. Solgaleo, which was one of the very first GXs we had, was a stage 2 with 250, so 240 is high, but we have seen better. Retreat cost of 2 is uninspiring. You can have free retreat with Beware, but you can't have free retreat with U-turn board, which I'm going to be honest is kind of annoying. And we see a weakness to grass here. Fighting ground grass, it happens quite a bit. And weakness to grass is great. Grass is just not seeing play right now. And one of the main reasons is that Welder is making all kinds of decks like Reshiram and Charizard and Blacephalon into the best decks in the format pretty much. So, yeah. Grass decks are completely under fire right now, pun intended. So being weak to grass is awesome. And you're a fighting Pokemon. Being a fighting Pokemon is good. That means you've got weakness on stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom. It means you can use Diancie Prism Star to do a little bit of extra damage. It means you can use Martial Arts Dojo to do a bit of extra damage if you're using basic fighting energy. It means that you can use Karate Belt to reduce the attack cost by 1 fighting energy, just so long as you're behind on prizes. But what does it do? Well, the ability here is awesome. As long as this is your active Pokemon, all of your Pokemon take 30 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon's attacks. It just means that all your Pokemon take 30 less from attacks. It basically gives all of your Pokemon one of those abilities that reduces damage done to it. So, Crabominable, for instance, the one that we're going to be getting in Cosmic Eclipse, has an ability that reduces damage done to it by 30. Well, this ability does that, but for all of your Pokemon. And sometimes this can be exceedingly relevant. And I think the best example here, and I know I'm not the only one that's picked up on this, Dedenne against Pikachu and Zekrom. You see, Pikachu and Zekrom does 170 damage to one of your bench using their GX attack. Dedenne is a widely played Pokemon that helps you get rolling that has 160 HP. Okay, that's pretty terrifying. And you can use Mew from Unbroken Bonds to prevent all damage to your bench, but you got to find it and it might be prized and you've got to make sure that you're saving a bench space for it and it takes up a space in your deck. It's great, but it's not without its problems. Whereas if this is in the active, yeah, you're fine. Now, your opponent could use something like Custom Catcher here to potentially drag a Pokemon off the bench that isn't this, and then KO that and the Dedenne on the bench. That is a possibility, but at least you're forcing your opponent to have more cards. You're forcing a much more elaborate combo in order for them to be able to do so. It's not to say that they won't, is to say it's more awkward. But it means that Flygon now has an effective HP of 270. It means that if your opponent tries spreading, let's say for instance they're using the new Noivern, yeah, this is fine. The new Noivern, I think, is the premier spreading Pokemon we've got at the moment. It's got free retreat, and for 1 energy it does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Except if you've got a Flygon in the active, it does nothing to anybody. That's pretty gosh darn sweet. Now, it is damage, not damage counters, so something like an Espeon and Deoxys dropping damage counters will still be able to drop those damage counters. They will still be able to take a bunch of KOs with that. And that's a pain, but it happens. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's one of those things. It's a GX attack. It's going to be annoying. Yeah, there's not much you can do about it. But it means that this is... It basically makes all of your Pokemon immune to spreading attacks. It means, and spread decks aren't great right now, right? Because Tapu Koko rotated out and Latios rotated out, and they really were the two best. But any spreading deck that comes around at any point in the future, this is going to be absolutely amazing against. It is going to give you a huge, huge advantage. I'm in love, frankly. I love the ability. But the ability alone isn't potentially going to win you games, maybe against a spreading deck. Maybe we should look at what the attacks do. And the main attack here, free fighting energy, 120 damage. If there is a stadium card in play, this attack does 240. Discard that stadium. And it is if there is a stadium in play, not if you have a stadium in play. Which makes a huge difference. It means that you can play a stadium, do the extra damage. In this way, it is extremely like Primal Groudon, whereby you needed to have a stadium in play to do 200 damage, and then discard it. That's like it is here, except it's for 1 energy less, and it does a lot more damage. That's pretty sweet, ladies and gentlemen. Huge damage. Getting the energy on is a pain. Now, speaking of Groudon, we do have a new Groudon, which is going to be coming in Cosmic Eclipse with this, that does, well, for 1 colorless energy, doesn't do any damage, but it does let you attach 2 fighting energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. That's awesome. We love this, ladies and gentlemen. This is brilliant, and it is actually going to be in the theme decks if the rumors are to be revealed. I'm not saying that this is the only way to play Flygon, but I am saying that it's a stage 2, so you're going to have to take a turn or two to get rolling anyway, so you might as well be using Groudon to accelerate your energy and get rolling. And when Groudon goes down, you'll be behind on prizes, and you can use a Karate Belt. Although, as a side note, do consider Choice Helmet along with this, because if you're already taking 30 less from attacks, using Choice Helmet to take 60 less from EX and GX attacks really could make a big difference in terms of your survivability. Means that you've got 240 HP, but you take 60 less, so to 1-hit KO you, they've got to do 300 damage, but to 2-hit KO you, they've got to do 360. Yeah, that's going to make you stay around for that little bit longer. Honestly, this is a great attack that does a huge amount of damage. Bearing in mind you're going to have Diancie Prism Star out, so you're actually doing 260. And if you use a basic fighting, and you put a martial arts dojo, even if you're not behind on prizes, you're doing 270, and then you're getting stuff like Reshiram and Charizard, which is phenomenal. To be fair, you'll get a KO on Pikachu and Zekrom or Dedenne, even if there isn't a stadium in play. So that's pretty good. And there will largely be a stadium in play. I talked about this with my videos about the World Championships, but with stuff like Viridian Forest and Lysander Labs and Shrine of Punishment and Power Plant and all of that good stuff, we really are in a format at the moment where there's usually a stadium on the field. So I don't think you need to worry about that. There will largely, most of the time, there will be a stadium on the field. My only concern about this attack is the energy cost. We have got Groudon, and that's pretty nice. And Karate Bout will help. And if you can get 3 stage 2s out, you can actually take advantage of Super Boost Energy here. Though do bear in mind, Super Boost Energy is not a basic. It will pay the attack cost in one go, but you will lose the extra damage from Martial Arts Dojo. So something to bear in mind there. Now as for the GX attack, free fighting energy, 220. Damage from this attack is not affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. It goes through anything. So anything that's sitting there being like, ha ha ha, you can't KO me, something like an Alolan Ninetales, for instance, which should be immune to GXs, you will be able to get a 1-hit KO on that. If nothing else, it's a flat 220 if there's no stadium in play. So even if your opponent isn't blocking you with anything, there is an argument here that just, at some point during the game, you're not going to have a stadium in play, and you're not going to have one to play, so you can just use this to take a KO on that turn, and that's fine. The GX attack is lovely, and if you are against a deck that is blocking you, it's brilliant. But that's not why we love this. We love this because it protects you and all of your bench Pokemon, bearing in mind it's going to be very difficult for your opponent to take out your evolving Pokemon on the bench when this ability is in play. And the attack does a huge amount of damage, and most of the time, right, you're going to have a Pokemon with 240 HP taking 30 less from attacks, doing 240 damage. But it's a stage 2 that uses free fighting energy, and it's not like fire energy where we've got Welder, or lightning energy where we've got Tapu Koko Prism Star, or psychic energy where we've got Malamar. We don't have great ways to accelerate fighting energy at the moment, and that is an issue. There are options, and I think Groudon is among the best of them. Karate Belt if you're behind on prizes, but please do bear in mind that that will make things a little bit more awkward. If we could get this rolling easily, I would utterly adore this Pokemon. Now, you've still got stuff like Professor Round's Lecture to search out basics, and you've still got Cherish Ball to get your GXs, and you've still got Rare Candy to skip an evolution stage. But a stage 2 Pokemon with free fighting energy is awkward. I feel like I've said this a lot lately, but I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. It is a stunning card. It is a phenomenal card. And once you've got it out and you've got the free energy on it, it is over the top good. It is a phenomenal card. But it's still a stage 2, and it still takes free energy that's awkward to accelerate. But I'd like to know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.